Check this, people. You've heard it. You've seen it. You know, all the time we're in the dance. We make noise. You hear that sound? We beat something, etc., etc., etc. This is Soundboy Saturday. You've heard that sound in the dance. You've heard it on the mixtapes. You've heard it blasting out of car speaker systems, out the windows. Whether it be 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever. You've heard it on Missy Elliott records. Let me grab my drink for this. You've heard Major Lazer play that particular sound. And you probably even heard it on TikTok this week without even recognizing that that sound is a very particular sound identifiable with Jamaican sound system culture and Jamaica. Let me drink. The thing is, most people that play that sound, the Airhorn, and producers that put it in a tune, whether it be house music, dance music, etc., have no idea where it came from, you know. What they believe is, boy, it just sounds good. They don't know the deepness of the roots of what it actually means. They don't know the story. But I do. And I'm the historian in this thing. And it's Soundboy Saturday. So, if you like what you hear, press a link, press a click and follow. Because the Airhorn is a story of resistance, of celebration, of the black working class people turning everything, including danger, into music and joy. Welcome, let's get to it. Today we're going to get deep. We're going to do a deep dive on the Airhorn and this why it exists, what it's here to play. Let's go. So the Airhorn starts, most people believe, in Kingston. Sound systems in Kingston, in the garrison, in the ghetto. So if you want to understand where it comes from and the reason why it first started, let me explain to you that we got to start for where sound systems began. So for those who are new here, I would say welcome. If you don't understand about sound system, I'm going to tell you that it's not just a set of speakers and a tweeter and a mixer. That doesn't begin to explain it. It's a community. It's a culture. It's a following in Jamaica. So let's go into Kingston, where the sound system was the closest thing to working class community. Every radio, every community had their sound system, had their little hall, had their little place to gather. So for me, I want to just paint a little picture for you. It's post-World War II Jamaica, 1947. The island's still under British colonial rule. Independence hasn't happened yet. It doesn't come until 1962. And the majority of Jamaican people in downtown Kingston, the yard people, the ghetto people, they really have nothing. There's no disposable income. There's no access to entertainment the way it was in Uptown. But they have one thing. They have music and they have each other. So a man named Headley Jones, and I want you to remember his name because he's probably the most important name in dancehall and in sound system culture. Not enough people speak about him. Headley Jones was a radar engineer who had served time in the British Air Force. He came home and he used his severance pay and opened up a shop selling radios and transistors and records and that kind of thing. One day he built an amplifier. Not just a regular amplifier, you know, but just an amplifier that separated the 3 main frequencies in sound, right? Bass, mids, and tops, what you call treble. He put them outside, he put it outside the shop to attract buyers to come into the shop. But what he intended, it did something completely different. Because the people them weren't stopping and going into the shop. The people started gathering outside of the shop and dancing in the street. Headley Jones. At that moment, ping, where's the light bulb? We need a light bulb. That was the birth of sound system culture. A Jamaican man with technical knowledge and military training, with a little bit of creativity, created a culture accidentally, inventing a whole new form of communal gathering between the people. That's why I said it's a community thing. And it took that global. That's where a global movement was born. By the way, we drink coffee straight, you know? No milk, another thing, you know? So let's fast forward a little bit, few years. You get the original storyline. So then the original titans of that, you got Tom the Great, Roy Johnson, Duke Reed, you got Trojan, you got Coxon, you got Coxon Dad, by the way. You got a whole new movement of people that were titans, people that created and built their own sound, which was obviously important. But these men started to they played their sound in their each individual arena. Well, you know us Jamaican people, we like competition. So then it became not only my sound is the baddest sound, but my sound better than your sound. How are you going to prove that? You got to outmaneuver the other sound, right? You got to build everything. That's where the sound system clashing culture comes from. You got to make everything make sense. Because when you understand the reason for competitiveness or competition, and you understand the electric force of the community wanting to represent, just like football now. It's World Cup time, right? You want your team to win, because that's your people most of the time. People representing where you come from, you're a team that represents you. So when you understand that, you understand the meaning of the sound system to the culture, but also the meaning of the air horn. But the air horn didn't just start like that. The air horn started, the reason why it came, I suppose, is because of real life gunshot. Let me ask you a question. When you're a big tune in the dance, I mean a big tune in the dance, whether it's Rampage playing a tune, or me playing a tune, Stone Love, whoever, what do? You in the UK, I'm going to say it. You in the UK mainly, but. Where does that come from? You might do this, beat something. UK put up a gun finger, Jamaica will, we'll press it. But imagine this, go back to the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, even sometimes into the 90s. You know what used to happen in Jamaica? A thing called boom salute. You know what that was? Literal gunshot, bang, in the air. And what was that? It was an expression of approval, because you heard a big tune. So when you was going pop, 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 garage and all that, Mr. Dynamite, in Jamaica, it was real guns getting shot in the air. Bang, bang, bang. And in some parts of the UK that was happening. I've been to Jamaica parties in England, parties all over the world where real guns was busting. I can tell you stories about being in a dance in Birmingham. Man, them shoot up in the air, pieces of the roof drop on your shoulder, you have to brush it off and don't show no fear. Let me tell you about Duke Reed. We're going back to the originals. Duke Reed was known to carry a gun in the dance, not because he wanted to be a threat, but because it was a statement of power, as protection, of presence. And the boom salute was a salute to a big tune. The same way when you go, bow, bow, bow. Now this is where it starts to get a little bit deeper. Julian Enriquez, a researcher at Goldsmith University in London, puts it into words really beautifully when he says that he was studying sound system culture, right? Wanted to understand where this whole bow and slapping things, etc. came from. And he pointed out that Jamaica was a British colony for over 300 years. And in that colonial context, the gun salute is everywhere, right? Think about it. The Queen or the King's birthday, pam, 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 21 gun salute. When royal or military figures visit Jamaica, gun salute, firearms. It's an expression of respect, of significance, of power. And that was embedded within colonial culture that also surrounds Jamaican people and Jamaican culture. It's at the very top of society. That's what it showed you, right? So when the downtown people did this, what do you really hear, people? It wasn't violence. It was a symbol of respect, because what we were accustomed to being a symbol shown, and we were shown as a symbol of respect. But we kind of took the thing, and as Jamaican people do, as Caribbean people do, and we did it our way. It wasn't about violence. It was just saying, this moment right here is the moment that matters. This moment right here is powerful. This moment right now we're living, this is the community. And some people might say that's radical, and it's just a party and people are bringing guns to the party. But no, like I've told you, I've been in the parties where people shot. It's respect. Now, the problem is, obviously, gunshots in a party can bring complications. We know that. We know that, right? Health and safety and, chaos and, injury. So as the culture grew in these dances and they got bigger and bigger, and more people started to carry their legal firearms. Because you may have heard some old school tapes where a man say, legal shot. It, could create a problem. But this is where the hero turns up. The alternative to a legal gunshot. But before we get there, I gotta tell you a little story. Let me drink my coffee first, yeah? Now, the Airhorn isn't just a musical instrument. It's not just compressed air in a canister that makes a sound for no reason. The Airhorn is used by the US Navy and the emergency services for signaling ships in foggy docks to guide you to shore safely. It carries across a distance. And that's where, I don't know where Jamaicans fell in love with it, but that we wanted to capture that spirit. And that, people sometimes don't even know, that was from back in the 1970s. It wasn't just a piece of maritime equipment. It was just somebody said, yo, let's utilize this. Bring the Airhorn into a dance hall in Kingston and fire that. They say the first time the Airhorn was alert was sounded in a Kingston dance, the crowd absolutely froze. It was loud, it was sudden, and it demanded attention. And it said, yo, this moment right here is significant. But it wasn't a gunshot, right? Because the problem with gunshot is sometimes it could be, and I don't want to talk too much, but, things can happen that shouldn't happen. But the Airhorn was safe, it was just loud. They say the first time you ever heard an Airhorn on a track was a Bob Marley track, Bob Marley and the Wailers. It was on a B-side. The tune was called the Ravers version from Bob Marley's the 1972 tune called Midnight Ravers. Sorry. And that's the first time you ever heard an Airhorn on a track. Me being a reggae historian, of course, I would have that information. But you can look it up. Go check your Googles. I'm not just, I want you to research these things. So the Airhorn at that point from the 70s became a more acceptable alternative to a gunshot in the dance. That's from in the 70s. And some people said that it was a fad, etc. But that continues to this day. So it clearly wasn't a fad. It wasn't a popular fad either. It was a significant replacement for what could have been a dangerous, cultural thing. But that sound went all around the globe. It spanned the globe. It went to New York. It went to Canada. It went to England. It went all over the place. That's that sound. Now, here's what I want to really explain to you. Because this is where a lot of people get lost when we speak about the air horn and how the air horn sound traveled out of Jamaica and outside of dancehall culture and became the most popular thing that you know now. The air horn isn't just hype. It's a language. And just like any language, there's a meaning to it. And like every language, it evolves and changes context, it changes delivery. There's a sound system, the air horn means one thing. Sometimes it means another, dependent on where and when it's used, at what point it's used. If the selector drops a big tune that busts a crowd, you hear the air horn. He might drop a dub plate that nobody else has. You're going to hear the air horn. Because the man's going to press it and say, yo, nobody can play this. Big forward. That's a salute. And we recognize the greatness of that particular tune. And that's exactly what it's there to do, right? Like we said, it's an alternative to the gunshot. So it's a salute that we all recognize. So you might use the air horn to salute the tune. You might use the air horn because you want to pull up the tune. You don't want the tune to finish. You want to reload the tune. And me, if you ever been on the sound, you ever been around the sound with me, you know that I love to pull up a tune. Press it, pull up that. You know what I mean? Because we want to live in the moment, so we want to recreate the moment over and over again. And that's the context of the air horn. That's why we love the air horn so much. And it's communication between the selector, the MC, the mic man, the selector, etc. It's that. Sometimes you reach for the fader before the air horn set off and you might get into a 1 and 2 back and forth. Now there's a clash context. Two sound systems are playing, you're going head to head, and sometimes that air horn needs a signal that you're done. Your time is over. Yeah, you get 15 minutes of juggling or whatever, time is over. Stop. You know? That's the air horn again. It could be that it's over for the other sound. You know, the other sound is finished. I know sometimes now they don't do what they used to do back in the day where the sound could be finished or you kill off the sound so the sound have to pack up and go home, give them some air horn and get them up out of here. Pack them up, pack you up, son. But the one thing that doesn't get talked about enough is the African roots of all of this. What are you going to say? You didn't realize? The call and response tradition goes back across the Atlantic in West Africa. Call and response was the form of communication that was used at everything, whether it's a religious gathering, whether it was a political meeting, whether it was a wedding, whether it's a funeral. When the leader speaks, the community responds. There's no separation between the performer and the audience. Everyone is a part of the ritual. And that's what the Jamaican sound system recreated in the streets of Kingston, and then that got recreated across the world, the yards of Trench Town, in the dance halls of downtown. It's the same ancient structure. The selector is the leader. Selector, the mic man, is the leader. The crowd is the congregation. And the air horn is the voice of the congregation, the voice of the people speaking back. So when you hear that horn blast in a dance, you're hearing a 400-year tradition. You're hearing Africa filtered through the Middle Passage, through slavery, through colonialism, through the hard concrete streets of Kingston, through a compressed air horn. It's not just a sound effect, people. That's a survival mechanism dressed up as celebration. Revolution. So how do we get from Kingston, from downtown, from Jamaica, and build up such a momentum till we get to New York, and we get to the streets of London, streets of Birmingham, streets of England, how does that sound leave it? Because the representation has to be taken, right? Jamaica never stays in Jamaica, though. That's one thing that makes the culture so extraordinary. It's the, what did I say? It's centrifugal sport. The centrifugals, you get the point I'm trying to make. I nearly fucked it up, though. But it's the centrifugal force that spins it forward. Revolution. So when we speak of the Casio keyboard, when you know about the slang thing rhythm, you guys will know about the slang thing rhythm, right? And why it was created and how it got created. They started programming these sounds into the synths, right? With sounds of dancehall and programming all of those samples in gunshots, air horns, bombs. Then the horn becomes a digital sample, right? So you start hearing this in this song and that song from the 80s onwards. But primarily in the 90s, you're hearing it everywhere. You started hearing it, right? So we got to speak, though, of one of the primary people that recreated that sound in the dance, and one of the most popular people in the dance, a man called Joe Lickshot. Joe Lickshot became popular, and I needed to look him up. Here's a little clip. Joe Lickshot became popular because he had an innate ability to recreate or to mimic a gun. Bang, 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 legal shot. In the dance. Many people sampled him, many people looped him, but I want you to go and check up Joe Lickshot. We get to hip hop. Kool Herc. People say that that was one of the most important migrations of all. He took the Jamaican sound system to New York, specifically the Bronx. He was born in Kingston. You probably know this story already, but I'm just gonna break it down real quick. He was born in Kingston, went to New York as a teenager, and knew him as DJ Kool Herc there. Now, DJ Kool Herc took everything he knew about sound system culture to the Big Apple. The speakers, crowd control, mic man, the battle, the energy. He took that whole idea, turntables, and created his own communal space in the Bronx and made it competition. So he transplanted his culture, his part of the culture, into New York into the 1970s. And that's partly where hip hop came from. Now they might want to fight that, but it's the truth. We know this to be the truth. Hip hop and Jamaican sound system culture is like this, it's commingled, it's intermingled, adapted to a new environment. And that's where the block party came from. Sound system, block party, the selector, the MC. Come on. You don't like what I'm saying? Fight me. Show me I'm wrong. And now the Airhorn makes its way into hip hop. It's not culture. We can't say that it's cultural appropriation because it's still part of the culture. It's still part of the family. It's wrapped and entwined within the DNA. It's always there. But what I want to do, though, is speak on how the Airhorn went from brrrr to... There's a moment where a guy called Cypher Sounds, he was an underground DJ in New York in the 90s. He used to play at some of the dancehall parties, but he was hearing the Airhorn and decided to chop up the sample. So, like I said, the Airhorn was chopped up the sample and created, like I just played there earlier. This DJ, Luis Diaz, known as Cypher Sounds, created or recreated the Airhorn sound that you hear now. And that was popular on Hot 97, and he made that popular all around the world. From Funkmaster Flex, he drops the bombs, but you hear him with the Airhorn, DJ Clue. All of these people have sonic features or identifiable sonic sounds, which is unmistakably theirs. Cypher Sounds was the Airhorn. I've spoken to you about how Cypher Sounds did it, but then DJs like DJ Who Kid and Green Lantern were using it on everything. Every major mixtape, you heard the Airhorn that came out of New York. Some people would argue that Tim Westwood popularized that sound in the UK. I lied, I tell. Don't listen to that. Don't listen to that. We made that popular. But what I'm gonna say though, Pharrell and Missy Elliott, they used it and it showed up on a lot of their actual tunes. Major Lazer, Guns Don't Kill People, right? They did it. You heard it on EDM, rock, pop, house, dance. That sound effect, that was the replacement for Gunfire in Kingston, in Birmingham, in Toronto, in New York, became the most globally recognized sound signal of the 21st century. So, some people speak about what was gained and what was lost for Jamaican culture. And I'm gonna try to break it down a little bit. Because sometimes a win isn't a win, sometimes a win is really a loss, and sometimes a loss is really a win. Yeah? So one of the most important things to wrestle with, and I think when we speak about the Airhorn and how it went global and it left just dancehall and became a generic hype sound, let's say, or a meme or a TikTok sound effect. Something that you hear at a football match. Something you hear in a video game. Something you hear on streams. Did it lose its meaning? There's a scholar from the University of the West Indies, UWI, named Sonja Stanley Nair. And they put it this way: what's been lost is the association you can make to Jamaica, and what's been gained is that there is a increase in the routinization of Jamaican popular culture. What does that mean? Routinization is a heavy and a big word, but what it essentially means is the more it's grown, the less people are recognizing the roots. It's so normal now. You hear it everywhere that people stop connecting it with its source. Once upon a time we used to, right? And I feel like that's an important distinction to make. Because when I'm in the dance and the selector pulls up a tune, and we hear the ba-ba-ba-ba, I know there's a massive connection. The selector is speaking to us through 400 years of history, that call and response. The community's behind it. The community's present. This music matters. This moment matters. This culture is sacred. The meaning is intact, but some people are just pressing a button in a room. That's what that means. So when the Airhorn gets dropped in a pop song, as if some generic excitement, oh yeah, a cue, blasted at Eurovision, sometimes the history may get stripped away. It's not malicious, it's just distance, right? Through migration, through cultural mixing. And that's why I'm here, right? To tell the story. It's not new. It's a story of black music in the 20th century. It's a story of jazz, it's a story of blues, it's a story of rock and roll, house music, every genre that was created by black people that became mainstream and gets absorbed. The credit often doesn't come home. It's not for affirmation. It's not for validation. But we just need to make sure so we tell our stories. The fact that a sound effect born to replace real guns, a real gunshot in the dance in Kingston, is the ingenuity of people that had rhythm and community behind them and a resistance mindset. And that sound became one of the most recognized sounds in the world. That's more than extraordinary, MG. It's a testament to the power of this culture. It's the reason why I do Soundboy Saturday. Because there's things that exist here that we don't speak on. It's glossed over. The impact of which is glossed over. People just don't know where it comes from. They just do it because it's done. Everybody that hears that horn should feel what it actually is. It's not just hype. It isn't just a noise. It's a conversation between a selector and a crowd. And this conversation has been going on from before I was born, from before my parents were born. It's a tradition that's started on the colonial system that tried to silence black voices, black Jamaican people. And what did we do? We responded by making a sound so loud and so powerful, so culturally unstoppable, that however many years later, the world is still blasting that song. And you know why? When I look at what UEFA's done with Haiti and decided, oh, they can't have a representation of their freedom fighting, it makes me sad. But freedom fighting comes in so many different forms. So every Saturday we're gonna do a deep dive into whatever subject related to sound system culture. I hope you enjoyed it, people. If you did, put it in the group chat, share it, send it to your brethren, and send it to somebody that thinks they know something about sound system. Ask them if they really understand why the Airhorn exists. Tell them watch this. Make sure you click the button, you like, you share, you subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. We do this every week. Big up yourself, people.